Hello and welcome to Talkin' Baseball. Winners, losers. The offseason's over, Pop. We're reporting. Who won the offseason? Let's talk ball. Oh, the lefty?
Garrett Crochet.
Verdugo. Hello and welcome to Talkin' Baseball, presented to you by SeatGeek. Jake Storielli, Trevor Plouffe, Rob Scirocco, breaking down the offseason. Pitchers and catchers are down there. They're throwing. They're throwing 10 pitches, jogging a lap, and calling it a work day. Baseball is back. Football's over. And I am lucky enough to be joined by Trevor Plouffe out on the left coast. How you doing? We've both been active little boys these past couple days, huh?
We've been active. That's right. You down in New Orleans, me back up my home state of Montana.
Wow.
Had a really good time, Pop. But what you're saying is true.
Yeah.
The big game is over. Everyone knows what that means. Baseball season is here. Jeff Passan dropped the tweet. It's all that matters. Yeah. I mean, look, I feel confident about this episode because there's it's Bregman and full pension Piv.
Right.
That's out there.
Yeah.
Like everyone else is signed. So this is nearly a complete offseason. We'll miss. I mean, wherever Bregman signs, that's at least a half a grade bump, I would say.
Right.
But we're ready to talk about winners and losers.
Quintana is still out there. He'll drop some combios on you. But yeah,
He will.
Breggy's the last one that we would have pointed to before. And yeah, that qualifying offer for Piv. That's interesting. Hasn't been a lot of smoke with him. I thought he was.
I haven't heard one thing.
I thought for sure he was going to be a pitching lab team's dream. We will see. Let's see what happens with him. And yeah, Trev, we were wondering how to dice this up in our own way a little bit. Winners, losers, standard. And we're going to go with that. I think we're also going to have a wild card column. I think we're going to go 3-3-3. And then at the end, I think we'll super burn the teams. Kind of one word, quick hitter thoughts. So everybody gets the love today because baseball is back, baby. And let's get into it with Factor. Who's going to be the factor for your team this year? Who's going to be the factor for your nutrition this year? Factor has chef-made gourmet meals that make eating well easy. They're dietitian approved and ready to heat and eat in 2 minutes. So you can fuel right and feel great no matter what life throws at you. Factor arrives fresh and fully prepared, perfect for any active, busy lifestyle. It's become huge in the office. It's a grab and go. 2 minutes. You're not doing prep work. Cook it, eat it, boom. Calorie smart, protein plus, keto options, whatever you're looking for. Smoothies, breakfast. Reach your goals this year with ingredients you can trust and convenience that can't be beat. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/Talkin50off. Use code Talkin50off to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. Talkin50off at factormeals.com. Free shipping on your first box. Coach, we debated, do you start winners or losers? You know, that's getting off on a different foot. The winners of this offseason are pretty clear. I mean, there's two big ones, and then there was a fight for the third spot on the podium. So I'll let you begin.
Well, we only talk about coastal teams because we are coastal elites. That's what everyone says, even though I'm the voice of the Twins. No big deal about that. It's obviously the Dodgers. They are the number one team this offseason. Do you want me to just read off kind of what happened?
Maybe just remind the people quickly because it's looking at this sheet, it's pretty sick.
Every single person they sign has been an all-star or absolutely can be an all-star this year. Blake Snell, nice. Tanner Scott, best reliever on the market. Blake Snell just won the Cy Young. Incredible. Michael Conforto was an afterthought. Kirby Yates, when his 117 comes over. Haesung Kim, who they're already hyping up. They're dancing. They're doing things, taking ground balls. I mean, it is amazing. He comes over. Roki Sasaki is on a freaking league minimum deal, and he might be easily rookie of the year, if not in the conversation for Cy Young at the end of the year. They re-signed Teoscar, they re-signed Blake Trinan, they re-signed Kike. Clayton just signed today, and they extended Tommy Edman. What are we doing?
Yeah,
that's a whole division's offseason. They went to the defending champions Los Angeles Dodgers.
I mean, you could almost break that into three. If that was three different teams, like if a team signed Snell, Conforto, Yates, we'd be like, nice offseason. If they signed Scott, Roki, and Teoscar, nice offseason. Just a reminder what they did. And hey, some of you probably have Dodgers fatigue already. They won one, and now they won the offseason. Like it blew my mind how quickly people turned on the Chiefs, and there's a Taylor factor there. There's a lot going on. The Dodgers is going to be interesting this year. I wonder how much everyone turns the ugly eye on them. I think it's kind of going to happen, right? Like they're there.
Yes, it will as a unit, but Mookie is pretty damn likable. I don't know. I mean, I guess I could see some people not liking him because he's good and beats their team.
Yeah.
But who's going to hate Freddie Freeman?
Yeah.
Who's going to hate Shohei Ohtani? Who's going to hate Teoscar Hernandez? Like, this is a group of, like, good guys. So he has a whole, but, like, it's really hard to single one of these guys out and be like, that guy's a D-bag. Doesn't really seem like they have that there.
And, I mean, I guess more importantly for them and Dodger fans, they don't care. Blake Snell couldn't care less what you think about him.
He's getting dubs on Fortnite and winning Cy Youngs in both leagues.
So are you, minus the size. Have you guys linked up yet? You got on the sticks? You got to hit him up.
I think I need to hit him up and say, let's play some duos. Me, him, Nikki Cass, just getting in on it. Okay.
Wow. MFK that pretty easy. Trev, I think the other team that, hey, and again, maybe, hey, if you've been with us for the whole time, maybe you're not shocked by this. Maybe you're getting back in. Maybe it's been football season. I think we each both jumped to the New York Mets, and they still had some parts leave. Like, I think that's the other side of this equation, that when we talk about a couple of these teams coming up, that, there's some parts in, parts out, but the Juan Soto signing redefined what the franchise is in general. And never mind, like, bringing back Pete, Manaea, Winker, Stanek. They've lost Severino, Bader, Quintana, Martinez, Iglesias. Is he going to come back? So, like, there's still pieces going out, but Clay Holmes or Montas is going to click. AJ Minter. Don't make me say Nick Madrigal, because we haven't been in the same room together. But the Mets, this is a franchise-defining offseason.
They went after and got the guy that everyone wanted in Juan Soto. That was that alone right there makes Mets fans feel, validated, makes Steve Cohen, kind of the king of New York right now. But yeah, then you bring back the guys that you needed to bring back. I think that's the most important thing. Like Clay Holmes, Frankie Montas, like they're hoping that they are this year's version of a Severino. But you had to bring back Manaea. Manaea was your guy at the end of the year. He made the adjustment. Everyone knows what happened after that. I think bringing him back was paramount. And then also you won the staring contest with Pete Alonso. He's back. People are going to say, well, how's it going to be in the clubhouse? Is he going to be the same guy? Once Pete gets on the baseball field, he can be a baseball player. That's all it is. No hard feelings. He's going to go do exactly what he does. And I think he's going to benefit greatly from Juan Soto in the lineup. So this is a team that, I think last year, I'd say they surprised a lot of people. I don't think that's too far off to say. Went on a magical run with the OMG stuff. They still have the ingredients for that, plus Juan Soto. And you know what he did for the Yankees. 2023, and this is not just the only thing, but they missed the playoffs. Juan Soto comes in, they're in the World Series. That's the type of effect this guy can have. That's why he got $800 million, Pop.
When you think about $800 million, that's a lot of money, huh?
It's a lot of money.
God, you and me having our late night money talks recently. Not in that Soto money yet.
not yet.
Watch out. My one silver stock takes off. I guess, hey, Mets Dodgers snaps for you. There's honestly not a ton to say, because it's the Dodgers are so impressive coming off the World Series. The Mets changing what the word Mets means to baseball fans. This is where things get kind of nutty, Trev. I'll be honest. I don't know where to go. There's a couple teams that come to the forefront. I guess, who do you want to present or bring to the table?
Well, Okay, there's a couple teams that really needed to do some things. Obviously the Yankees were in on Juan Soto, and ended up losing out on him, and they had to pivot and they had to, I guess, disperse the money a little bit more
Mm,
evenly throughout the roster, which a lot of Yankee fans coped with and said, "Hey, we wanted this anyway. We didn't need Juan Soto. We needed to fill a bunch of different holes," and that they did, man. They really
yeah.
did. You bring in a frontline starter at Max Fried, bring him in for 8 freaking years. That guy's going to be in pinstripes. And I think the under the radar signing here, I don't know if it's under the radar, but I mean, it wasn't a signing, it was a trade. Getting Devin Williams at the
Yeah.
back end of your bullpen, I mean, eh, people might have that taste of him in the playoffs giving that homer up to Pete, but this guy is an absolute star. He is one of, if not the best relievers in all of baseball, and he's gonna be able to do things. You think about good Yankees teams in the past, you think about one guy, and it was so simple to give Mariano Rivera the ball at the end of the game.
Oh.
Aaron Boone is gonna have that exact same. It's gonna be that easy for him at the end of the game. I'm not saying Devin Williams is Mariano Rivera, but taking that decision away is just so nice for a manager. I think he might have the biggest impact of any signing or trade that the Yankees brought in this year. And you can go into around the horn with them, bringing Goldschmidt in on a 1-year deal. I think that's a savvy play. I think he might find another gear playing in New York, understanding the expectations. A guy like him, I think we saw what happened to him in the second half last year. I think we can expect at least a good year out of Paul Goldschmidt. And I think that helps out a lot there. You can go off a little bit more. Obviously, the Cody Bellinger thing means something as well, but this is a team that had some holes, and there's still one left, but I feel like they've become a better team than last year.
They pivoted and they had a nice offseason. The debate just becomes losing Juan Soto. Like they have more depth in the lineup, but their lineup the past couple years before that wasn't the Bronx Bombers you think of. And like last year they were, but most of that was two dudes.
Yeah.
It was Soto and Judge. So you're still trying to replace that. Also, your leadoff hitter was Gleyber Torres, who was great in the postseason and great down the stretch offensively. Now, the other side of that, Gleyber and Soto, defensively, the Yankees should feel like a new baseball team. I guess I have my questions of how better it can be, and like Paul Goldschmidt is a big pivot point of that. What Paul Goldschmidt am I getting? And they've got a couple young guys too, Dominguez and Wells.
Jason is a massive part of what you guys are gonna do or not do.
That it was a nice offseason. I'll be honest, it's tough for me to think that the Yankees had a top 3 offseason. As you click around, it's a different equation. Because, like what I'm saying, if it's just parts in, like Max Fried, your guy, yeah. I mean, that's their additions and re-signings list is sick. Cody Bellinger, Devin Williams. Don't sleep on our guy Fernando Cruz. Go check out those strikeout numbers. Fried, Goldie. But it's hard for me to ignore the subtractions that I think other teams are at least at the table. And I don't know if that's their rivals, the Red Sox. I feel like Cubs fans have been puffing the chest a little bit. It's tough for me. There's a couple Central teams that did nice moves, but they're just on a different scale. Like, I don't hate Detroit. Like, I don't hate Kansas City, but I guess I don't know how to compare them.
Yeah, I mean, Yankees rotation got much better, bringing in Max
Yes.
Fried. Their bullpen got much better. Lineup got, I don't want to say significantly worse, but probably significantly worse.
There's a chance, right? Like, there's a chance
right there. You're right. So it is a big loss, obviously, losing Juan Soto, but I think having not real, I mean, they obviously were planning on possibly losing Juan Soto, but I think when they did, the way they reacted was about as good as you can react.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm at with it.
For losing a hitter of his pedigree.
So we're not sure if we're going to consider them a top 3 winner, because the other team that we wanted to mention here is the Cubbies. We're basically playing swapsies with the Astros
A little bit.
Off-season long.
A little bit.
I think that they missed the mark last year. They bring in counsel. Everything's supposed to be awesome. They have their roster set. They think this is going to be a winner, and they end up being 10 games behind the Brewers in the division. Craig Counsell at the end of the year was talking about a significant roster gap between the two teams. That is not where they started out, Pop. So they had to make moves. If they wanted their fan base to be invested in this season whatsoever, they had to go make moves. We always talked about them having sort of like a win now roster in place. Like they built this team and they had guys healthy. Like it was where it was supposed to be. It just didn't come to fruition. So, they went out and added some people. And I think they're my team I would put up there as possibly the team that improved third most this offseason.
Yes, my computer's trying to go, and hey, if this episode drops, and God, if they signed Alex Bregman, it would be like no contest, and they're supposedly still in the mix. So is Toronto, a couple other teams like Boston. We'll see how that all sorts out. That again, could go on.
No, they went okay. They had a couple things they needed to address. The bullpen, they brought in some depth starting pitching. So you go out and sign Matthew Boyd, you bring Rhea.
Yeah.
Over there. There's good depth there. But obviously the big one's Kyle Tucker. He's one of the most consistent performers at the major league level on both sides of the ball. So he's just an all-around ball player that's going to, impact your team in every single which way. That's huge for them. Is it a 1-year deal, 1-year rental? Yes. But I think they needed to go do something, like I said. So you do that. You bring in Presley, to be at the back end of your bullpen because you had some young guys there that, were getting the job done at the end of the year. But an established veteran like Presley is similar to what I was talking about with Williams and the Yankees. Like you want to have a guy that you can just say, here's the ball, go finish the game for us. He'll be that for them, at least, at the start of the year. So they addressed things. They brought in pieces that, championship contending teams have and address. And they did that. I really, really like the Cubs offseason because I feel like they did have a nice foundation in place. It didn't work last year, but they had the pieces there, and then they just kind of added on top. And that is, if you're a Cubs fan, I mean, you had to have it.
You kind of had to have it. And yeah, I guess when the Boyd signing first happened, I was still daydreaming of maybe a more impact player in the rotation. I do think we've seen a lot of teams this offseason, the Orioles come to mind, kind of go more depth than trying to put it all on one lotto ticket. And I guess I don't know if that's the answer. It's really easy if Max Fried goes out and throws 200 innings at a 3-1 this year. But A, not every team can do that. And B, how many teams have we seen come into the postseason and they're down to 2.5 starters that, hey, if something clicks again for Colin Rhea or if Matthew Boyd can put it together for a full season, maybe that's better than one $19 million pitcher that I'm open to hearing that out.
And this is the one team I think that, maybe this episode doesn't age well for because they still are in on Bregman. They had been rumored to talking to the Padres, who we'll get to, about Cease or a King. And if that happens, then we're talking, right. Yes, this is one of the best off seasons. I think it already is up there for improvements and kind of understanding where they're at in their window. But if they were to bring in one of those guys, it's game over for me.
I'm more open to it than I thought. When you initially said before the episode Cubs, I was kind of like, at Kyle Tucker, and I've had some statements about King Tuck that I was like, he's the best player since they're kind of World Series core guys that put up some big years. But I think you can make a decent argument that their lineup got better, their rotation got better, and their bullpen got better. That if we're talking about your goals going into the offseason, those are the three pretty much.
They might freaking sweep the National League Gold Gloves. Think about that.
Just
Ian Happ has won 2 in a row, hasn't he?
Right.
PCA is like an all-world defender,
right,
in center field, and Kyle Tucker could win it in right field.
Yeah.
So to me, that's like I think about their outfield first when I think about that team. They have a fun team, man. I want them to be good. Please, Cubs, be good. Please be good.
Dansby has some gold on his glove. I think our guy Nico Horner does too. And you know what? I guess the only thing, I think I would pick the Cubs for number 3. The only thing that's digging in my ear is just Brewers fans come September when they have an 8-game lead in the division. And it's just like, yeah, we did it again. Great offseason, Chicago, but this is what we do. Willie's gone, great.
Chris, I got some guy for you that you're going to love. Chris asked me that today. We were talking about roster between the Cubs and the Brewers. And I said, look, man, you can say whatever you want right now, Chris, because he said the Cubs on paper for sure better roster. I said the Brewers win 87 to 92 games every freaking single year, and they got rid of Hader, won the division. Got rid of Burns, won the division. They got rid of Devin Williams this year. They got some guy named Yoho. I think it's Craig Yoho.
Craig Yoho
also throws the airbender. So look out, dude. He was their minor league pitcher of the year this year as a reliever.
Craig Yoho.
That's
they got another freak, Mizorowski, who's God. Oh my God! Don't go look at Craig Yoho's stat. This is
telling you, dude.
No.
I'm telling you, we're talking about off seasons, and the Brewers like, well, we got one already. We got Devin Williams at home.
Craig Yoho across 3 minor league levels, which is a good sign, had a 0.94 ERA in 57.2 innings with 101 strikeouts.
Oh, so yeah, that's what they got going.
We're playing Biloxi this weekend. Here comes Craig Yoho. They're going to be chanting Yoho around the stadium. A Pirates.
They need to trade him to the Pirates right away. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, as you know, whatever. Back to the Cubs. I think they've had a very successful offseason. They swung. Look, they're going for it. I love it. I love that they, put the chips in. They went and swung and got Tucker. 1-year deal. A lot of GMs wouldn't have done that, but
yeah,
here he is.
That's true. Yeah, I guess the only caveat I would put I'm fine putting the Cubbies down. I'm interested to see whoever does sign Bregman. If it is the Cubs, I mean, I already had him there. If it's the Red Sox, I think they come flying up into contention with Crochet and Walker Buehler and the moves they've made this offseason. And then again, everyone's been on the Tigers. The Tigers have surprised me when I look down on this sheet. And again, they more so came down to parts in, parts out for me. Because the only part out that our guy Dalton listed was Alex Faedo, which, no shots fired at him. Wish him the best. But they brought back Jack Flaherty, Alex Cobb, Gleyber Torres, and Tommy Kahnle. So that's everything we just talked about. Did you make your lineup better? Did you make your rotation better? Did you make your bullpen better? The Tigers, especially if they have something else up their sleeve, I think they would have it. But I think for the graphic, I think it's Dodgers, Mets, Cubbies.
Dodgers, Mets, Cubs. I'm good with. There's a bunch of teams that just missed. You can talk about. I kind of like what the Diamondbacks have done. They're like the sneakiest freaking team in all of baseball. If you want to bet a dark horse to win it all, I would talk about the Diamondbacks. Some teams were forced to have a good offseason. I think the A's had a really good offseason. They had to do it. So they don't count. They don't get any no love because they didn't want to have a good offseason. They had to have a good offseason.
Yeah,
and then there's some teams that the Marlins know where they're at.
Yeah.
Like they're doing what they're doing. The White Sox are trading away everybody. How
about the Cardinals, dude?
The Cardinals are not in my they're in my bad offseason.
They might just land there.
Yeah.
Indeed they could. And today's episode is sponsored by Indeed. You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? It's easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. Indeed sponsored jobs help you stand out and hire fast. With sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. There's no need to wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. Talkin' Baseball listeners will get $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/talkin'. Indeed.com/talkin'. Support our show. Tell them that we sent you. You heard it on this podcast. Indeed.com/talkin'. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, Indeed is all you need. Coach ball game. My coach ball game. You want to do the wild cards or the losers?
Losers. I want to get these
losers. Hit them, because
I think
you're hard and fast with these.
I think these. If you're a listener of these teams, you know who you are. Let's start with the Padres. And this one hurts a little bit for me because I'm like, I spent a lot of time in San Diego. Kind of fell in love with the ball club, for being honest. Like they were having fun. You may hate them. That's fine. You like to watch them play, though. There's no doubt in my mind. You watch that team and are like, this is a fun squad to watch. It just is, man. And they really, obviously, Seidler went for it. That's what everyone knows. He wanted to bring a championship to San Diego. It didn't happen. Now he passed away. There's been a lawsuit, very, well covered lawsuit that I guess they just named their control person as his brother, which I don't think a lot of Padres fans are too stoked on that. So there's issues. They're trying to cut payroll. They're making trades. There's a possibility they deal Cease. There's a possibility they deal King. But to be as close as the Padres were last year, and to have the eventual Dodgers just saying this was our World Series, Miggy Rowe saying they were the better team, the Padres were the better team, and then all of a sudden you do nothing in your offseason. In fact, you're probably going to start to get rid of more people. That has got to be so frustrating for a town that has absolutely bought into everything the Padres have done. They show up night in and night out. There's no other, big sport in town, but that doesn't matter. I think if it was a full sports town, people would still go support the Padres. The park is there. They have the squad. They had everything, and they have everything going forward almost, except the support of like the ownership and the money to go continue to make moves. I think that's it. So they have just the fall from grace, man. And silly me, kind of still believes in this team. If they start to deal King and Cease, that's going to change my mind. But to be where they were at and not be able to sign Profar back, what was it, 3 years, 42? Come on, man. You got to bring him back. You got a guy in center field that's making a league minimum. Who's an all-star, who's a guy. For them to have to, from where they're at to where they're at now, and kind of the feeling about them has changed so drastically in a short period of time that they're by one of my losers by far. It's an easy take for me.
Everything you said is unfortunately right. And it's going to be just very interesting to see what that means. And you're right, their offseason might not be done, and that's what we don't know. There was a rise rumor, Cease and King are on the last year that, Preller has earned some credit from me. Calling up Jackson Maryland, he's just a baller. What was that? That was something in their organization that was brilliant, that maybe they've got another. You love Sean Reynolds in that bullpen. Maybe they've got more on the way, but you're right. It's looking back on this sheet Dalton made for us, the recent, if we did this a week ago, it's Connor Joe, Jason Hayward, who have recently signed for.
That's their answer for Profar. That's their platoon in left field.
For Profar, Tanner Scott went to the Dodgers. Ha-Sung Kim, the whole stadium chanting his name.
Higgy going is a big deal.
I think they were a loser.
I hate it. It's
right.
It's just the fact that they were so close. And we're talking, dude, in October, 4 months ago.
Right.
We were saying this is the best team in baseball.
Yes.
One of.
They were
now we're saying
up 2-1. They were up 2-1 on the Dodgers. At home.
I don't know, man.
That's hoping that doesn't turn into a sad story. Are you gonna sharpen the knife for the Pirates?
Just hold 1 sec on the Padres. You could have brought back Ha-Seong
Oh
Kim and
no,
Jurickson
there's
Profar for a
more.
total of $70 million, and you're gonna have him for 3 years. Like, I just when you have a formula that works, don't if it don't broke, don't break it. That's what Lil Wayne says.
Wheezy, New Orleans was just there. It's me. It's Rob Riggle. It's Ocho Cinco. It's Andrew Whitworth.
Whitworth.
I haven't told you this part of it yet. I walked up to Andrew Whitworth and was like, "Oh, John Boy Media. We do baseball stuff. I work with Trevor Plouffe. I think you met him. Boys with Stafford now. Not the biggest reaction from him. That's okay. Weird times. We're on a float. 9 a.m. in New Orleans. I was pivoting out. Justin Pennick took his opportunity to pivot in. My foot got caught under something. Pennick caught me with his shoulder, dropped me. Tough. Brutal, dude.
Like you fell?
I didn't go all the way down, but I was going down.
That sounds like the Padres.
Oh.
Sounds like the Padres.
Who's next in the chamber? Is it Pittsburgh?
I think we no, I mean, yeah, they're one of them.
Okay.
You want to just go into them? Because I have another one that I'm really upset at too. Pittsburgh, it seems like we've just constantly been upset with them, and our level of upsetness has just gotten greater as now we've seen what they have with their starting pitching, which is gonna segue right into our last one. Seattle, get ready. Yeah,
there it is. There it is.
We were promised offense early on, like what in the middle before the deadline last year, when the Pirates were kind of like in the race. We were promised offense that never came. It still hasn't at all. They did bring in Tommy Pham, which is nice for a nice, I would say, a depth piece for a contending team. I don't know how much a difference maker he's going to be. Love Tommy Pham. Not saying he's not a good signing for your team if your team is ready to go and compete. This team is not. This seems like, hey, let's ship Tommy Pham off at the deadline and get something back for him. The other additions, Caleb Ferguson in the pen, Adam Frazier, we'll get to that later. Tim Maiza in the pen. They bring back Kutch, which I love. They trade for Horowitz, Emmanuel Valdez, and Strzelecki, who's also a reliever. So they attack the bullpen. But really, for me, it's offensively, you needed to go do something, and you didn't really do anything. And again, this is like you have young, controllable starters, like a three-headed monster that many teams dream about having for very cheap right now, and you're not doing anything to supplement the roster to get into some sort of contention. Mind you, people, 12 teams make the playoffs.
Right.
Like there's a lot of playoff spots out there. You don't have to win the division. You just got to be close and make your move. And they had a chance to do that last year, didn't do it. This year, it doesn't seem like they're even giving it a thought because they brought nobody in, essentially. Nobody of significance is going to help that offense enough to put them over the hump. So it's going to be another year in Pittsburgh of, hey, let's go watch Skeens and Jones and Keller pitch. And then, Kutch will, be up to bat. We'll give him a round of applause. Great. But the victories just aren't going to be there.
Yeah, man. I mean, the test I ran on the Cubbies a little bit ago, like, did your offense get better? Did your starting pitching get better? Did your bullpen get better? I don't know on all three. Like, looking up and down this lineup, hey, I hope Spencer Horwitz clicks. That's someone they brought in, 27-year-old first baseman. He's got some decent projections to him. We talked. I liked Nick Gonzalez last time, as hopefully he's got another step in his bat. Joey Bart's limited sample size with them last year. What is that? Is that real or was that? And then McCutchen and Pham, yeah. I mean, Tommy's turning 37 soon. Kutch is 38. That I don't know. I would have loved like Ferguson and Meza Profar would have been great. Like you could have dreamt.
Great.
You could have dreamt on a 850 OPS player. Like you can't do that with the other guys. And then I guess I would have just loved, if you're the Pirates, I would have loved to walk away from this offseason and been like, something's a strength. Like, did we make does our bullpen look nasty? And like, hey, Bednar's been a pretty reliable closer for the past couple years. Holderman, we've seen him have some highs and lows. Like, Dennis Santana's currently listed as their 8th inning guy, and they got him off waivers in June. So, I know bullpens move quick, and a lot of time it's having the right systems and coaching and pitching crew. But also, like, if you're the Pirates and you've got 3 days a week that you've got a starting pitcher that might give you 6 shutout, no, it'd be sick having a bullpen with 3 guys that could give you 3 shutout. And it's like, damn, we're playing the Pirates this week? That stinks. Nobody thinks that. I think people play the Pirates and they're like, hey, let's outlast Skeens Jones and win 3 ball games. So they have to be horribly frustrated. And I don't know, like, what are we missing? You know?
I continue to go back to Profar. 3 years, $14 million a year would have done great things in their outfield. There was a flurry of first base maneuvers around the league that, whether they wanted to sign somebody in free agency, I don't think Pete would have came there for the deal that he gave the Mets.
No.
But, you could have traded for a Josh Lowe, or you could have done, a bunch of different.
Nathaniel.
Again,
Nathaniel Lowe would have been a perfect fit on this team.
Sorry, that's what I meant. There was a lot of movement, and they weren't part of any of it. So they just didn't do anything. And I just hate wasting pitching. Talk about the Marlins and what they've turned into. Pirates, you're entering that category that the next team we'll talk about, the Mariners, has just been in. The Mariners, I think, have had. They've had the worst offseason relative to what my expectations are of them and where they can be, which is a World Series team. Their offseason was a non-factor. Is that being nice? Like, Polanco, I love you, man.
Yeah.
And Solano, like, these are good, again, like, good role playing
contact
types, but we need an offense there. And they just haven't been able to do it. Part of that is their park. Do free agents really want to sign there and go to the worst hitting park in all of baseball? No, it's not. It's not easy to get guys to sign there. But even like Justin Turner, he hit great there last year. Why isn't he back?
Right.
Like bring him back just to get some at bats. They got to figure out something. They just didn't do anything, Jake, and it's so frustrating because you have that pitching. You and I've debated lately: are they really that good, or is it the park? I think we've both said they're pretty dang good, but you're squandering an opportunity to win championships. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, man. I get frustrated. I get actually frustrated. As a 35-year-old man boy, thinking about how the Seattle Mariners have operated. And like I remember last year, like, they brought in Mitch Garver, who had that kind of breakout half season with Texas, but it was like, okay, but Mitch Garver's getting older and he doesn't have a body of work that it just feels like they always make the move under the move, like it, and instead of, putting 50 chips on the table, they put 18 chips on the table, and they hope it works, and it just hasn't. That, yeah, if you're trying to break up a hitting cycle in Seattle, that we're writing articles, we don't know if guys can hit there. I don't know, Trev, you've brought it up. Mike Trout's never had a problem hitting there. Aaron Judge has hit there pretty well. I know we're now talking, top of the class, but
I just gave you one they had on their team last year. I think he had an 8-something OPS in Seattle.
I think Justin Turner's waiting for that Dodgers call. Like, hey, we're bringing everyone back. Like, I don't know. I saw Kike got signed. Clayton Soto signed. Yeah. And hey, maybe Justin Turner gets done, but it's also, what does that do for the lineup at the end of the day? Like I would love to.
They needed to bring in Pete. Pete was one I thought they should have 100% done. Then all of a sudden you got Julio, Cal Raleigh, and Pete Alonso, Randy Arozarena. Then I'm like, okay, like that's not an easy lane to get through.
No.
Supplement some pieces in the back end. But this is what their offseason has been: Solano and Polanco, Mastrobuoni, they traded from Chicago, and Austin Shenton.
Yeah.
Not in my book necessarily, but that's it. That's it.
I have Shenton. Yeah.
That's crazy.
It just, there's something about it that feels like a video game team that, and maybe that's where we get lost, that it's like, guys, you have this asset, this starting pitching asset that everyone is looking for, that if any of your young pitchers were just free agents right now, they would get. If Logan Gilbert was a free agent right now, how much money does he get?
A lot. Max Fried money, probably.
Max Fried money. Luis Castillo already got paid. Could get paid again. George Kirby. Max Fried money.
And they're also going in the wrong direction. 90 wins, 88 wins, 85 wins. Like, it's not working what you're doing.
Right.
It's not.
Yes.
Like you need to hit. You need to have some offense. And don't make me go bring up the offensive stats. You Seattle fans, you already know what they are. And I'm assuming it's just like a no-fly zone ownership, not okaying going after some big dogs. Although we keep hearing like they're in the running for people, but until they go out and actually go sign a proven bat, man, just go try it out, see what happens.
Try it out.
It's crazy. Don't look. Don't be the Marlins. Although they made the playoffs a couple times.
Yeah,
I guess Seattle did too. But like, you still need to hit.
At some point, you got to hit. And yeah, I guess I was a little sad when you brought up the Mariners, because we've been tough on them, but in 2024, their starting rotation was best in ERA, best in WHIP, best in walks per nine, best for hits per nine allowed. Their bullpen stats are good, and it's just, there's clearly one thing missing, and what have you done? Nothing. Like, you hope that Julio puts a full year together. You extended Victor Robles because he had 30 good games in a stadium where you were told guys couldn't hit. Cal Raleigh's a stud. I'll stop there.
Yeah.
Randy and Luke Raley, what's that look like over 162? Can JP and Polanco tap in? I hope so, because it's a baseball thirsty city. But we haven't gotten to our Mariners TPP yet. And what are we going to say about the hitting? Do you think it got better? I don't know. All right. Let's do the 3 wild card teams. The 3 off seasons we're not sure where we stand on. And then we'll super burn through any team we missed. And don't miss out on Best Western. It's a Best Western summer and every season. Best Western Hotel and Resorts. Life's a trip. 4,000 hotels worldwide. Think about that. There's a Best Western for every detour. I think I'm staying at the one outside of Wrigley. Gorgeous, by the way. Go look it up. And whether you're hitting the road, traveling, chasing the big game, whatever, Best Western has the stay for you. Travel isn't always predictable, but that's what makes it great. Best Western is there for every wrong turn that leads to the right story. Every unplanned turn that becomes a highlight, and every moment that makes a lasting memory. So stay out a little later, take the scenic route, make the most of the ride. Ready to get going on your next adventure? It's waiting for you at Best Western. Life's a trip. Make the most of it at bestwestern.com. Wild card, bitches. Whoa. First team that comes up for you. Let's go back and forth on this, because I've got a couple bouncing around that when I looked at this page, I was like, I kind of like this, but this also could be bad.
My mind goes to the Rangers, and it's
Okay.
so I think about them like this. They obviously just never got their footing in 2024. They have a legitimate roster there. They just need some guys to stay healthy. Re-signing Eovaldi, which I think was huge. I'm one of the biggest Nate Eovaldi fans out there. So he stays. You bring in Jake Berger um, from a trade from Miami. Jock Peterson, the hired gun, is there on a 2-year deal, but he has the opt out. You bring in Higgy, and that was a big deal for them. Getting someone that can spell Heim there and have some sort of offensive impact. I think that was big. But for the most part, I mean, they addressed their bullpen. They brought in a bunch of guys: Martin, Milner, Armstrong, Webb, and Garcia. So you address that because their stats were horrible in every single category last year: offense, starting pitching, relievers. It was just a bad year for them. So I think just that reset of a new year helps them in the offseason. I think they address some weaknesses. And then obviously the wild card is our guy Jacob deGrom. Like, what's he gonna
Right.
look like? This team, how many games did they win last year? I'm gonna get it up right now. It's not a lot.
78 and 84.
78 and 84. This team has the potential to, move up 15 games. Like this
Yeah.
could be a 90 plus win team. And I think some of the additions that they made are understanding that they're going to get better years out of their guys. There's going to be some more health there, but I mean they addressed needs as well. So I'm into it. I think I'm in on the Rangers for 2025.
Yeah, there is a weird wild card aspect of like, okay, Nathaniel Lowe was so consistent for them, he's gone. Kirby Yates on the back end was
Yep, yep,
unbelievable last
yep.
year. And then they ended up losing a lot of veteran bullpen arms, but they brought in different ones that, I don't know how that shakes out for them. And I feel like they're going to be a sexy team this season. It was interesting to look at that. It's like, the parts in, parts out aren't as dramatic as I thought. Like seeing Scherzer leaving, I don't know what that looks like for this year, but that's Max Scherzer. I don't know how they'll feel that. And Jake Berger, every time I look at it, I still believe in lineup protection. A good change of scenery, like going from the Marlins to this Texas Rangers team that he hit 30 last year. He hits home runs. I wouldn't be surprised if that ends up being a really nice investment for them. I think they're easily one of the wild cards. I don't know how this offseason lands. I think good.
Their lineup I love.
Yeah.
And go look up and down the lineup. Right now, Fangraphs has it as Simeon, Seager, Langford, Jock Peterson, Garcia, Adolis Garcia, Josh Young, Evan Carter, Jake Berger, Jonah Heim. That's if all of those guys stay healthy and just have kind of average years for themselves, it's one of the better lineups in all of baseball.
I'll throw one of my wild card teams at you, and this is another fan base that hasn't been in love with me. The Toronto Blue Jays, and they're still in the mix there that they could do something else with that Bregman guy. For me, it's kind of the Mariners conundrum. It's like do something, and they lost Romano and big Spencer Horwitz episode, who did have some nice numbers. Rooting for him next year. But they brought in Santander, Tony Taters, who's staying in division, 40-plus homers. They brought in Jeff Hoffman, who's one of the breakout pitchers in baseball. Let's see what they can tap into. Max Scherzer, we just talked about him. Even if he doesn't throw a pitch, there's some value to him, but he's also going to throw pitches. And then I just like Andres Jimenez could change the whole tone of that team defensively. That it's like, hey, again, I don't know what it means for the Blue Jays in the AL East, and I don't know if it affects Vladdy, and this offseason could end up looking not good. I like that they tried something, man. We brought in an offensive guy. We brought in a defensive guy. We brought in some pitchers. Roll the ball out there. Maybe we'll be good.
Yeah, no, I like they addressed needs. They needed some pop. So, yeah, you bring in a guy that's hit 40 homers a year for the past couple of years. And then I too liked Andres Jimenez deal, but we've talked about like the number kind of getting crazy there in a couple of years. which is like an interesting aspect. I believe he ends up starting to make, what is it, 27 a year?
It's
It's something that
a nice
big.
contract for Andres Gimenez.
It is a nice contract for him. It's very backloaded,
Mm.
if you will, which, the Blue Jays are on the hook for. But I do agree that he just changes the dynamic of that team who has been, they've won Gold Gloves as a team, but like the middle infield, I don't know has necessarily been a part of that. So you add him, and that's good. Um, yeah,
He's st-
I
he,
gotta see it. I gotta see it.
yeah, he
I like the moves.
he starts making 23.5 in 27, 28, and 29. So
Okay.
I know Rob put together a little Jimenez taster reel, which, hey, if you're someone that hasn't watched this guy play regularly, it kind of looks like figure skating to me. Like, it looks like
Okay.
he's operating differently. Like, he doesn't have to move his feet. It just kind of happens under him. Obviously the soft hands and everything else that, I mean, that's going to be an impact move for them. And they tried to do things that could be franchise. Dude, if this team, you mentioned 12 teams make the postseason. Could this Blue Jays team put together 86 wins and make the dance? And does that do anything to keep Vlad? Wouldn't that be worth it? Like, we're talking about a potential.
You know what keeps Vlad there?
Right, but they have that. But other
To
guys,
give it to him, dude.
other guys have turned down the money from Toronto because they're getting money from somewhere else. Vlad's
Yeah, but
in
Vlad
Toronto.
hasn't had a taste of anywhere else. That's the difference.
Exactly. So if
give it to him,
if Vlad's going to go to free agency, like, he's not signing a piece of paper at this point. If Vlad goes to free agency, it's going to be scary. But Toronto has an actual position of, if we match or have the best offer by a little bit, Vlad will probably sign here if we can do something this year.
I don't necessarily think he has to test free agency.
You don't? You think what would they have to throw at Vlad for him to sign?
That 500 number, I think, would be very hard to turn down. He just saw, and I'm not comparing them necessarily as players, but they play the same position, and the tool is hit. Pete Alonso. They just saw what Pete went through. He's going to have a qualifying offer attached to his name as well. Is he going to find a 1-year, $35 million deal? No, like, that's not going to happen to Vlad. I'm just saying there are cautionary tales out there of guys turning down that type of money where it doesn't work out. So if you offered him $500 million right now, like, that's what Baerga has said, right? I don't know if he turns that down.
500 gets interesting real quick,
right?
Half $500 million to play baseball, and it's done.
It's done.
It's done.
Guaranteed, Pop. Like, there's nothing that can take it away from you. Unless you do something really stupid.
That gets interesting. That gets interesting quick. You got another wild card for me?
I think we got to – people are going to hate this. I think we got to stay in the AL East. I think we got to go with the Red Sox, who made, like, kind of like the biggest early splash and getting Garrett Crochet over there. Like, I really, really like this team. And then the additions that they've made have been kind of exactly what they needed to do. So I'm on them, maybe not even as a wild card, but more
I would
so
say
towards
winner. Like,
more so towards the winner. Exactly. Walker Buehler, I think fits so freaking perfectly, and just kind of that attitude that the Red Sox fans like to have on the team. Moxie King, I think he is very interesting. And in 1 year, $21 million deal, love that. Sandoval and Crochet. So you brought in 3 dudes who are going to help your rotation out, which was already very much a strong point at the beginning of last year. So, like, you're providing depth there. Again, Crochet is obviously the biggest win here for them. I also like Chapman at the back end of the bullpen. I don't exactly know where he's going to slot in. If he's going to be kind of like a high leverage early guy, if he's going to be the 8th inning guy, I don't know where he's going to end up. But he's still got the stuff, man. And if there's something to play for, I just think it's a little bit different for him. I don't know, man. I just think that they've done a really, really good job. I like the spot where they're at in their organization. They have the young guys making nothing. They went out and made trades, protected their top prospects, so they can either bring these guys up and see what they're made of, or they can use them as prospect capital and go make a play at the beginning, or the middle of the year. So Red Sox to me, I think, are more in the win, but I'll call them a wild card because I'm curious to see how the season goes for them.
I have them as a win just because they finally addressed their starting pitching. And man, you mentioned Chapman. I'll tell you what every Yankee fan is dreading. The first Yankees-Red Sox game, that guy comes out of the pen because he's not shy to put the ball in places, and he still throws 100+ when he wants to. That will not be a fun at-bat. I guess the only other one that really jumped out as a wild card to me was the Phillies. People think they had a quiet offseason. They added Luzardo, who was one of the prized pitchers on the market for a while, that already to a stacked rotation. So, again, did you make your strength stronger? What did you improve? And then your guy, Max Kepler, Trev, who I still believe in lineup protection, and I know the Twins have had different guys as protection in the lineup, but Citizens Bank Ballpark, that Phillies lineup, like Max Kepler could be an easy 30 homers last year for $10 million and just slot him out there. They can probably sit him against lefties. They didn't do a lot, but I like what they did.
Yeah, no, I can speak on Kepler, a lot because I've seen him play. He's going to automatically be their best defensive outfielder. So you got that going for you in a team that kind of needs some of that defense. And then, he's never had a taste of a different organization. And sometimes we talk about change of scenery and it gets a little taboo sometimes, but he's a guy that since he was 16 years old has been with the Twins. This guy it's been a long time. And if the only thing that Max honestly needed, which is crazy to think because you just look at him and you say, obviously this guy's the most confident guy in the world. He's not. If he has those dogs around him, pumping him up, making him confident, that to me is a recipe for him to find a next level. No one would say shit to him in Minnesota. He was one of the longest tenured guys there. There wasn't a lot pushing him. I don't want to say he was complacent, but you get that way if you're comfortable in a spot. He's going now and he's got to go talk to Bryce Harper, Nick Castellanos. These guys are going to challenge him in ways he hasn't been challenged in years.
Right.
I think that was a great sign for them. And they've already had the roster. So this was strictly supplementing for them. The bullpen, I don't know if did it get better? I don't think it got better.
I don't think so.
Hoffman, you lose Estevez, you bring in, who'd they bring in?
Romano,
that's right.
So, hey, but they have other guys out there. Can you tap into Romano? I don't know. For me, I would put them in that wild card spot. And man, Kepler with those guys for 1 year in that ballpark, if he puts up 32 homers and plays defense and has 4.5 WAR, he just got himself a 3-year, $52 million deal, which that's
I thought he had a chance to get that this year. If he would have finished off last year a little bit better, I thought a 3-year 45 was in his future, but he gets the 1 year 10. Yeah, and kind of a prove it year.
All right, Trev. Let's super burn around it. I'll give you a team. You give me win, lose, or wild. Deal?
Okay.
Orioles.
Wild for sure.
Wild. Easy.
Maybe lose. I'll go wild.
I think they're wild. It could work, but it's a little wild. Sox, I'm going win.
White Sox?
Red Sox, excuse me.
Oh, we already did this.
Yeah, okay.
I put them wild card more towards the win.
Okay. Yankees are win.
We already talked about
Okay. Tampa. Wild or lose?
Yeah, always wild. Tampa's always wild.
You're right. That's fair. Okay, El Central. Your White Sox. Irrelevant?
Yeah, irrelevant. Win for them because they have a direction. I like it.
Okay, that's nice, Coach.
Yeah.
Guardians? Wild.
Wild. Always wild.
Montana beat Luis Ortiz. Watch out for that one.
Yeah, you like that. You love Luis Ortiz.
But they lost the whole right side of their infield.
Yeah,
they operate
it's wild. Wild, yeah.
Detroit, I have slight win.
It's not there yet for me.
Okay.
I'll go lose unless Bregman comes.
Okay. Royals, I have wild.
I think it's almost mirrors kind of what they did in last year's offseason, which was a big win. So I'm gonna go win for the Royals.
Like that. Twins.
Lose. Even though in the recent days they finally signed people, they bring in Cologne,
Ty France
today,
Oh.
and who else did they just bring in? Oh, Bader. They filled needs, but like this is a team that has they have a good team. If they just wanted to put the pedal down, they could. I'll go lose.
Astros.
Lose. I don't mind the moves, like the counteracting, the losses that they brought in. I don't mind the moves. Like Christian Walker is awesome. Paredes is going to be great, but like they've lost too much.
Yeah.
And if Bregman doesn't come back, if Bregman comes back, I'll say Wild.
I'm worried about the moment in June when they're up 5 games and Paredes and Walker just keep pulling homers into the Crawford boxes. But yeah, I mean, on paper, if you lose the Houston part of it, Kikuchi, Verlander, Kyle Tucker, Presley, like there's a lot of Bregman, a lot of parts out. Angels
win.
Why not?
I don't know. It's tough. I guess
it's wild. It's honestly wild
with a chance to win. I like the guys they brought in, but I don't think they really have a direction.
I mean, honestly, if we didn't know,
right?
Soler, Kikuchi, Kenley just signed Darno, Moncada.
That's what I'm saying. Like they've made good moves. It's just like it's a little
wild.
Okay, I'll go wild then with a slight win.
A's are illegal because they had to bring in, but it's
A's
kind
are
of
a
wild.
win, but it was forced.
Kind of a wild thing.
Okay.
Mariners, we talked about. Texas, we talked about. All right, NL. Braves, I think they kind of lost, dude.
Profar, I mean, they needed that, so that was big for them, and they're just banking on health. They already have a roster. Like, I think that's the biggest thing is they have a roster. If Acuna and Spencer Strider are kind of back to who they are, then they didn't need to make a lot of moves. I don't want to give them a loss because I think Profar was a very, very good deal for them. Anthopoulos called them the second best bat on the market, Jake.
Nice. That's good press conference
insane,
stuff. It's good press conference stuff.
Hey, man. I'll go wild.
Losing Fried, Morton, Enter. So I don't know. Marlins, stop. Nats we've done. Phillies we've done. Nats.
Loss.
I would lean Wild, but
okay.
We wanted more.
We wanted more.
But maybe that was a smart play. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be smart.
Right.
Maybe they decided this wasn't their window. I was more excited and think that they maybe could go a little bit earlier.
I just
push the bird out the nest, see if he can fly a little bit.
Just remembered.
If one dies, he dies. You got 6 more of them.
Just remembered our Nats.
That's what nature does, guys. That's not me.
It's going to be a bad year for us in our nation's capital. The Reds, a lot of trades. Lux, Singer, Trevino, Rogers.
Win. I like their offseason.
Really?
I think they're going to be a team that we'll look back on like in the middle of the season. Like, how did we miss this? Like,
okay,
Green. I think their pitchers. We've talked about them taking like the next step, and Green did last year. Like if their pitchers pitch, like their starters are the guys we think they can be, like look out for this team. Like they have a legitimate MVP candidate on their team, plus a bunch of surrounding guys. McLean being back is huge. I'm in on the Reds. I like the Reds.
I like it. I lean Wild. Brewers, are they a default Wild? Even though it looks like they're
wild.
They've got Yoho, so
they got Yoho, baby.
Watch out.
And Yelich had surgery. He showed me what they took out of his back. Holy crap, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he was like I was battling it all last year and finally got to a point I couldn't do it anymore. He's healthy. He's a stud. They're wild though. They're
always wild. Cardinals losers.
Losers. Yeah. I mean it's a loser direction they're doing. They're like Cardinals should never. It is.
It is.
The Cardinals should never do what they're doing.
Yeah.
Which is punting on this year.
D-backs are wild. Like, I love Corbin Burns, Naylor.
Oh, it's a win for me. That's crazy you say they're wild.
They lost Jock, Christian Walker. Like, that's... I know what you're saying.
They brought in Naylor as a replacement. They got Corbin Burns, bro.
To the best offense. I think you're right. It's a wild win.
Dub.
Rockies, Kyle Farmer.
Love Kyle Farmer. I don't know what to put them in there. When are they
Dude.
ever going to be in contention again?
Dude, people need to talk about that organization more of like, what are we doing? I guess that's
I think
my
I
whole
saw
thing.
something. What team was it that hasn't signed a free agent since 2016? Was that the Pirates?
The Pirates haven't signed a multi-year free agent since Ivan Nova, I believe.
That's in my book, by the way. That's insane. Rockies. I don't know when you guys are going to compete again. That's crazy to say.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm going lost.
Dodgers look good. Trev, there's one team we didn't talk about that I'm interested to see your answer. The San Francisco Giants.
Win. I like it. I like this team, dude. It's just they're in a very tough division. Look at the lineup. Go back and look at the lineup, Jake. Last year they had a good lineup. It didn't grade out well. I don't know why the stats are so bad, but they had a bunch of guys with OPS pluses over like 110. I made this point earlier today on Baseball Today. Tyler Fitzgerald, a full year of him. You bring in Adames and Jung-Hoo Lee. That's going to add to the fact that they already have, again, just a very capable lineup. I don't know what that's going to mean. It didn't translate last year, but I mean, bringing in Adames to me is a win.
Feels like a cool clubhouse.
It does.
Willie.
Like the vibes are there.
Jung-Hoo Lee, Chappie.
So I guess, I mean, shoot, is it a win if it's just Verlander and Adames? I don't know.
It's tough.
I'll go wild. I'll go wild for
like
them.
Technically they lost Snell, but it was a weird. It's always a little wild with the Giants, if we're being honest. Everyone, thank you so much. A wild off season. Now we're in it. Someone's gonna get hurt.
Pirates, Mariners.
No.
What is you doing, baby?
They suck.
Big sucks.
We will see you back Monday. Me and Trevor, we're linking up this weekend, which means we're gonna fight or something.
Is it too cold to walk around the city, me and you?
It's been pretty awful. It's been pretty awful. We'll see what the forecast has. I see weather. Oh, brutal.